Hey guys, this is the Uberly, and this is going to be talking about what my starter build is going to be for the 3.8 Blight League. But before I get into that, I want to first go over an important recipe that people are probably going to want to know before going into it. If you want to play Summoner and level as Summoner, this is a pretty big deal of a recipe to utilize for early leveling. So the main thing you want is a helmet that you want to craft +1 on, and a Bone Spirit Shield, as well as 2 transmutes and an alteration, as well as any random life flask. Any random one will do. What you do if you want to craft a +1 minion helmet is you're going to vendor a Bone Spirit Shield, transmute, and large life flask, or well, any type of life flask, and that gives you a life flask of animation, which is also kind of decent to use early on to keep minions alive, but is definitely not necessary. And then if you get like a 4-link helmet with the colors that you want, you transmute that helmet.
Hello.
And then you take the flask that you just made, you vendor it with an Orb of Alteration and the helmet, and you will get a +1 minion gems helmet with the exact same links and sockets that it had before. After that, you can go to your hideout and craft a resistance on it or something. So, really, really, really good for leveling. Obviously, you're not going to have a regal at this point, but, or not likely to have a regal at that point. But that's going to be extremely useful for leveling, and I'd highly recommend take note of that. As for the actual build itself, that I'm going to be leveling with, I'm just going to use random spells. I might try out some minion stuff before level 8, but minions don't really become nice until level 8, in my opinion. The first thing I'm going to do is be working towards Enduring Bond. These nodes are incredible for SRS, although I do question how good SRS is actually going to be early because we lost the +1 fire gems. So that's going to be a little bit rough. That said, it is a lot more damage than you would get normally early at this point, and it's also a lot more duration, so it's going to be really nice for their single target. They should have more single target early on than before. And yeah. I might try out skeletons at level 10, but I doubt they're going to be anywhere close to SRS, but who knows. You do summon 2 at a time, if I recall correctly, so maybe they're decent enough. But yeah. And I'm not going to really use zombies that much until I actually have a decent amount of regen and a lot more stuff set up. Obviously, so it's just going to be using these things until, say, about 28, where you can add in some spectres. I'll probably just use some random mobs for support and extra damage, because spectres are pretty good at doing that. And then at 31, once I get Library done, that is going to be a large question, especially once I get Labyrinth done as well. My first points are likely to be Mindless Aggression on Labyrinth, although Mistress of Sacrifice is also very good if you want to go faster. Mindless Aggression is better for the minions themselves, and you'll eventually benefit from this anyways once you get Spiritual Command and are using an attack movement skill. At that point, I'll probably be at around this point on my tree, something like that. And the plan is to test the skeletons again at that point. But except I will have Feeding Frenzy on the skeletons. And I think at that point, skeletons should be quite a decent bit better than SRS. We will see. Obviously, with minion speed being buffed, that gives SRS a little bit more of an edge than before. So it's definitely not certain that skellies will be better, but I can definitely see them being better for both clear and single target, and just ease of use even as well. I'll probably be running precision as well. But basically, whatever I find works well, I'll probably just keep doing that until 52. I might try out slave drivers early. Depends on how many links I have. I might also try out... If slave drivers don't work too well, I will probably end up just doing Katava Heralds as support specters of a sort to deal extra damage. But everything is going to likely change once we get to 52 or 50 if we use a +1 Minion Gems helmet for the specters. At 52, at gem level 11, specters get another specter, which is not something that normally happened early in the league, especially in SSF. So, yeah. I think at that point, specters, you're going to start having more links on your gear available, and you're going to have a lot more gear available to you at that point. So I do think I should be able to run 4-link specters plus 4-link skeles at that point. If not at that point, then pretty soon after that. That's mostly the plan. And then once you get Cruel Lab, that should be a massive boost to damage while leveling. Your specters are going to be really high level more than likely at that point, and your skeles are also going to do some extra damage as well. So that should be pretty interesting. At that point, you kind of stick with that, and obviously, as I said, Cruel Lab's going to be the +2. Bone Barrier is going to be my Merc Lab. And that's not going to be consistent. Don't assume this is 30 Ellie res, because you're going to have downtime on some of your minions. So kind of dangerous to do that. If you really want to try to go for faster clear, you could go for Mistress of Sacrifice after that, and that's going to give you some faster movement. But I personally am looking to be durable as much as possible, and eventually switch the skeles into zombies, and make sure that the specters don't die. So I might go Bone Barrier. However, I think it might be a better idea to go for Mistress of Sacrifice first, because what's going to happen and what you're going to aim for is once you hit area level 65, or I guess even 63, but 65 to be sure, you want to be picking up every single rare helmet that you can. Ideally ones with some sort of ES baseline would be better, but the idea is that you're going to try to get your specters to 21 gem level as fast as possible. So you're going to put the specters in a 4-linked +2 helmet as soon as they hit gem level 17. And at that point, I mean, you could probably even do it before then, but at that point, you will have 4 specters, and gem level 17 happens around character level 80. So yeah, that's pretty incredible. I can't see this being really a bad start. Skeles don't even need that much support in order to be decent. You'll basically be running Zealotry and Precision. So 1 aura for each type of minion. Precision for the skeles, just to make sure they're accuracy capped, because I don't have a lot of accuracy on this. And Zealotry, not only for the spell damage, but also for the minion regen. I have a tree that is going to be posted in the description of what I'm doing. This obviously isn't like a full endgame setup. I also will include that though of what I'm aiming for endgame, although it doesn't have any gear on it. The gearing is very, very much so up in the air, and I'm not 100% what I'm going to do. I don't expect to get a +1 delve chest, but or max specter chest, but I mean, if it happens, I'll obviously use it, but it's absolutely not necessary. And specters are going to be really, really amazing for getting through Atlas, because they're just going to be like, having level 81 specters that early, you're just going to decimate everything. It's going to be amazing. So yeah, that's going to be my starter for the league. Just to go over real quick, this is probably what it's going to look like around the point where I hit Blood Aqueducts. Probably just mostly aiming for life at this point to improve my survivability. May need more life nodes before then, but yeah. And Endgame, it's as I said, just trying to get this life, getting redemption for some speed, and going for Soul of Steel and Marauder section. And this is about what it'll look like at around 85. So, yeah, that's the plan for the league. I have the gems listed in here that I'm planning on using. Spectre 4-link, which is going to be in a +2 helmet until I get a 19 gem, at which point I will go... ideally, I'll have a 5-link at that point, but maybe I get unlucky. Or I have a Tabula, because this is just maintaining the 4 Spectre count. Skeles and 4-link, eventually this will get switched to zombies and maybe other support minions. That way we have the consistency on the bone barrier buff. Convocation, Desecrate, Equilibrium skill, Shield Charge, or Leap Slam. You can do Leap Slam and get rid of the Flame Dash. Generosity, Zealotry, Precision. If you have the mana for it, you can add another aura. Increased Duration, Val Molten Shell with Granite Flask, obviously, is something that I'm going to run. And your Offering skill, which is probably going to be Flesh Offering. So yeah, that's going to be my plan. Also, the endgame setup that I'm planning on, I did have a setup for Soul of Steel Anointment, but it's the most expensive node to take for anointments, which is really not surprising in the slightest. So this is to be the aim for the endgame tree. I'll probably end up having to take something like this node, but not a big deal. But yeah, this is kind of like the end game plan, sort of. These nodes will come last before I end up speccing these. I'll probably just do something like that instead, because all of this is basically like a 3-point jewel, and at that point, it's like another 2 points to take the rest of this, or something like that. 3 points. But oh, right, because I was going to replace Enduring Bond the moment I can fully get this. And as for the anointment options, there's a few cheap ones, if I recall correctly. I think Grave Pact is like right in the middle, so this actually isn't too expensive. Ravenous Horde is pretty far up there, and so is Golem Commander. So, and Soul of Steel is obviously pretty expensive. I forgot to check what Heart of Oak is, and I'm too tired to redo this video, so or even edit it, so yeah, I can't remember. And yeah, so probably just gonna be like a life node or even just stat nodes. There's a lot of very, very cheap things, like Diamond Skin is going to be really, really cheap, and that's going to be an amazing bonus early. Way of the Warrior, also very cheap. Those are probably going to be go-tos just because they're like so insanely cheap. And yeah. Outside of that, Ravenous Horde is really expensive, though, as I mentioned, and I honestly don't even think it's worth it over something like an anointment for Grave Pact or something else. It is really nice. I mean, like, if you have nothing else to take, sure, I guess you can take it, but I think it's going to be really not worth the cost. But yeah, that's going to be my league starter. A lot more Minion stuff is going to come, though. I have so much to go over with Minions, and just answering questions for the last few days on stream has shown how much information really needs to be gotten out there, because it seems a lot of stuff is just not easily is info that's not easily found at all. So I'm hopefully going to get more videos out. I'm going to try and push ladder for the first couple days though, so probably not too many videos on the first few days. Maybe, I don't know. It all depends. If I find Unending Hunger, I'll probably try to push for first 100, but if I don't in the first few days, I'll probably get to working on some videos. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. This is really setting off. Hope you guys have some good luck in Blight League, and yeah, I'll see you guys then.